All right, so we have a file to download today. Census F17XLSM. That must have been the census example that I did in fall of 2017. We're really just picking up from an example that we did much earlier in the semester. So we had something called census somewhere. It would be just fine to work on census F19 if you wanted to pull that one. It's the same data. So it's an example we've seen. This may be a little bit different than we did it, but this looks about the same. Didn't we just have a checkbox here? I mean, a combo box here, you selected it and it brought in another county. Okay, so here's what I'd like to do today. What we're doing today is we're looking at charts. We're seeing how to manipulate charts. There are some things about working with charts that are not especially intuitive. So, having someone kind of hold your hand, figuratively, through the process once will make a big deal on you being able to manipulate charts on your own. So what I would like to do on this example, let's see. Come on, there we go. Is the whole point of this is to be able to choose several counties and then be able to compare them. And so what I would like to do is I'd like to be able to compare them visually. I mean, here's all these numbers here. So, I can do it. I can look and say, oh, what are we looking at? Resident population estimate. Is this the change? Well, this is a percent change. Oh yeah, look, we got some going up, we got some going down. But it would be nice to be able to see that visually. So by the end of the day, what I'd like to have is I would like to have be able to pick a particular variable that we have here and then build the chart for that variable. Just automatically build a chart that brings in this data, brings in the headings for my, like to go under the, we'll use a column chart, like the headings to go under the column, puts the title here of whatever this is, just be able to have that happen automatically. We'll size it to an appropriate size and put it over here. And then if we generate another one, we'll put it to the same size and we'll put it right below it. You can kind of come and pick the charts that you want and they'll build and they'll just go into the right place. I don't know if you've ever kind of worked with multiple charts on a sheet before, but it's kind of a hassle to try to get them all resized right and positioned right. We're just gonna make that all happen automatically. Are you ready to do it? Let's do it, but let's start out. I don't know how to create a chart, but fortunately, what can I do? Yeah, I know how to create a chart in Excel. I don't know how to create a chart in VBA. I'll just record myself doing it, and then we'll take a look at it. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to turn on the macro recorder, developer, record macro. I guess I'll just call it make chart. Maybe I will put a shortcut key, making a chart. I'll just go ahead and put a C there, Control C for this. That's a bad idea. That means copy. So I'll put Control Shift C for that, make a chart. And we'll say OK. All right, let me go ahead and select the data that I want to chart. So I'm going to select my headers. And it won't matter. I think I've made an extra column here. If you don't have as many columns, that's all right. Then I'll do a control click to select my data. And I'll worry about the title later. If I try to actually bring the title in now, it won't really chart it very well, but this will build a pretty nice looking chart. So then I will come to Insert. I'll choose Column Charts and just do a regular 2D column chart. So just this kind of first column chart there. I bet it would be a recommended chart, but we'll just do that one. I don't know what I did, but that's no good. I've got this selected. Let me try that again. Did anyone else do the same thing and get a better looking chart? What's that? Oh, it doesn't matter which one I choose. My mouse does not actually want to cooperate here. So let me take that. There we go. And that, I think I held the wrong key down. Need the control. And that, okay. that the whole thing now? Okay. Insert, column chart, column chart. Shouldn't matter. How did it even happen? Is anyone having the same problem I am, or yours working? Are you getting nice little bar charts there? No recommended charts. Okay, let me just try this one. Let's see if we do that as a single range. That wouldn't be too bad to work from. Okay. So strange that those are all descending. 11, 10, 10, 10, 10. Sure enough. Okay, we gotta get here, and that should be okay. Anyone having trouble besides me getting here? Got a chart that looks like this? Okay, I'll stop recording. Developer, stop recording, and let's go see what it generated. We come to, oh, module 2 would have created a new module. And this probably, okay, so here I've selected a range, selected another range. Where's my most recent selected range? Increment, active chart, active sharp, selected. Got to see where I'm inserting the chart. Add chart, there it is, okay. So here's the add chart. That's everything that happens before is just getting the right data selected. And then we're gonna add this chart. So I'm just gonna kill everything that comes before this. And let me try again just to put in some code that will select the right range based on the active cell. So to do this, I'm gonna need to know a row where my data starts and a column where my data ends. So let me just go ahead and kind of build those up. Dim row as an integer, dim column as also actually an integer. I prefer to make row a long integer, although the chances of me doing this down below 32,000 rows is pretty slim. But if I've got rows, I want to refer to them with long integers. Okay, now when I run this, it's going to be based on wherever the active cell is. So row equals active cell.row. Why don't we go ahead and make sure we activate the right sheet as well. So this sheet is called data compare. It's called sheet 1, so we'll address it by its normal name. Worksheets. Worksheet named compare dots activate. Okay, so row equals the active row. My column is going to be my ending column. How am I going to see that one? Probably cells, row number 1, column number, the very last one. So columns.count. Dot end XL2 left. So now I've got a row and a column, and I just got to get the right data selected. So let's just go ahead and select a range. Range dot, range, open parentheses. I'm going to give it two cells. The first one is going to be row number, row, column number 2. Does my data always start in column 2? Yeah, column B is where my data starts. And then my second cell is going to be row number 2, column number, column. All right, I'm just going to put a breakpoint to there. We need a little more work to do because selecting this multi-cell discontiguous region is a little more interesting than just selecting a block. This is just selecting one block. Let me put a stop here. So we can kind of play with it. I'll run this, get a type mismatch, and XL2 left, columns.count, cells, oh, I want dot column. I'm getting actually to an actual cell there. I need to call the number of that cell, COLMN. And so that should be my call. Let's see, row is 2, call is 6. Oh, thank you, that should be a comma. Oh, it's a good thing I have you guys here. We'd never get done. There we go. Okay, so hopefully that has selected wherever my active cell was. I'll try it again. I'll just be here on A6, and I'll stop this and run it again. And that has selected the data there for A6. So now I'm going to go ahead and select the kind of build the next row, the next one that I want. And so this one is going to be, instead of row, it's going to start on row 1, and it's going to end on row 2 based on the column. So now that will select the other range, but I got to get them both selected. But let me run that. Now I've got the other range selected that I'm interested in. Delete this chart. All right, so we can see that if I run this one, F8, it selects that. This one selects the other one, but I got to get them both selected together. Well, it turns out there is a union operator that lets us do that. So instead of selecting these individually, I'm going to say union of my first range. Don't select it. Go back large again. Don't select it. Let me just put a comma. Go away. Union, comma, and then I'll bring up my next range. Maybe I'll break these onto 2 separate lines. So space underscore. Kind of line both of those up. And then I'll union those 2 together, and then I will select range cells. I think I'm missing a parenthesis there. Dot select. So now the union will take the union of both of those ranges and I'll say I want all of those together. So now that should select the whole thing. Get my active cell here. Range.row column. Let me ask for the I'm not selecting the other one. What's my row? Row is 1. So let me stop this, activate this. You can see if I was selecting that before I got to here, but I'm not. So let's run that. There we go. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. I tried to just run this again, but I hadn't changed row. Row was still where it was set before. I had to stop it and run it again, and that code now will give me the selection that I'm after. Questions to this point? No? All right, now that I have that selected, I think we're ready to actually add the chart. So active sheet, dot shapes, add chart. Now, this is a really long statement. Oh, no, it's not. It ends right here. But we're doing 2 things here. We're adding the chart. So we are calling the add chart method of what kind of object, by the way? Yeah, the shapes collection. The shapes collection is just a collection of all the shapes that are on the chart. What's a shape? Or all the shapes that are on the worksheet. What's a shape? What might be a shape? If you put a button, if you come over here to developer mode and say insert like a button, if you put that on here, that's in the shapes collection. Cancel, that's like, and we can look at that. Control G, question mark, active sheet, dot shapes, dot count. There's 2. Oh, that's because we also have this combo box. Also is a shape. It could be just a shape. Insert, illustrations, shapes. I'll just put a circle somewhere here. That's a shape. Now my shape count is 3. Why am I using the shapes collection to add a chart, right? This is a method of the shapes collection. Any thoughts? Is a chart a shape also? It's not a shape, but it's held in a shape. And so when I add a chart, it's actually going to make a shape, put it onto the worksheet, and it's going to put the chart into the shape. This is probably the biggest hurdle to understanding this, is that there are 2 different objects that you have to manipulate when you're working with charts. One is the chart itself. If you're dealing with the properties of the chart, what the chart is showing, what the title of the chart is, there's a chart object. If you're dealing with how big the chart is, where the chart is positioned, you are dealing with the shape that contains the chart. The chart does not have a top property. The shape has a top property. The chart is just going to take up the full size of the shape that it's in. So the way you control the size of the chart is by controlling the size of the shape. So let's go ahead and create 2 objects to be able to hold references to those. So let me dim CH as a chart and dim SH as a shape. So down here at where we're adding the chart, we are doing 2 things. 1, we're creating the chart, and then 2, we're selecting it. Now, the fact that I have a select happening after this method that creates tells me something about what that method does. Not only is that method going to create something, but it's going to, someone tell me what comes next in that sentence. It's going to what? Populate. I thought you said ovulate. I was probably not going to ovulate. Okay. So whatever happens before, because I've got another method call right here, whatever happens before this must evaluate to some kind of object. This has to return an object, and that's how we would say it. This add chart method creates a chart, and then it returns a reference to an object. What object does it return a reference to? I'm not sure, but whatever it is, it's going to be selected. The question is, what's this number 201? Is that like the 201st object? And the answer is no, this is the kind of chart it's going to create. There's lots of different charts. And we created chart number 201, chart type number 201. That clustered column chart 201. I don't know, this says column clustered. So maybe this says it's a column chart, and this says what kind of column chart. I'm not sure. But it's something, it's saying what kind of chart to create. My guess is that it selects the chart. But the truth is, I'm not really sure. So this is the chart type, and then this is the style of the chart. Excellent, thank you. Okay, well, it will actually return a reference to the shape that it created. So instead of selecting it, I'm just going to leave it as that, so returning the reference to the shape. But I'd like to be able to capture that reference so that I can manipulate it later in life. And by later in life, I mean milliseconds later. I want to be able to manipulate this. Whatever shape we got here, I want to be able to manipulate it. So what do? I've created a variable that's a shape type. And how do I kind of catch the reference? Oh, the mouse is not happy. How do I catch the reference that this thing returns? Okay, so you say assign it to CH. Well, I don't want CH because it's going to return reference to the shape. So I want SH. Set SH equals to this thing. So set, remember when we're going to bind an object variable onto an object, we say set. So set SH equal to this. And let me move my stop down to there, and I'll run it to there. This should actually create the chart on my screen. So run to there, and I've got the chart. Yeah, unfortunately, it built it well. It's got given me good labels under my chart. It's giving me a nice chart type here. That's great. I can see that now graphically a lot better than I can tell the difference in those numbers. You know, I can see that Henry and Marengo County are small, apparently, whatever this one is. They're lower on that dimension than the others by a lot. Okay, so now, while I'm in pause here, let's just do this. Let me just say sh dot top. Let me just print the top of that, and it tells me it's 220.875. What do you suppose those units are? Any guess? It can't be pixels, because you can't have 0.875 of a pixel. You know, you're not going to put it partway on a pixel. And the other reason that it's not pixels is because, you know, pixel is like a little, like one smallest dot here on the screen. And if I zoom in, now that's way more pixels down on the screen. And yet it hasn't changed what the top of that chart is. So the truth is, I don't know what the measurement is. It's some measurement that is, it's 220.875 somethings from here to here. They used to use a measurement called TWIPs. I'm pretty sure these aren't TWIPs, but the point is, it gives you some numbers so you can know where it is. Well, here we can manipulate it. So watch this. We can just say, the top of that, you know, is equal to the top of it minus 10. And that should do what? When I execute this, what should happen to the chart? Yeah, I should move it up a little bit. I can execute it again. So I'm now in control of the shape that contains the chart. And when I move it, the chart comes along with it because it's contained inside. So now I can refer to my chart object or my shape object just because I've got this sh variable. Now, it turns out that a shape variable has a property sh dot called has chart. And has chart will return true if the shape has a chart in it. So there's sh. Let me look at ActiveSheet. ActiveSheet.shapes. SHAPES. That's a collection, so I can say number 3. That should be the circle that I put on there. Dot name. It's oval. It's an oval 4. That's the name of it. But I can ask if that one has a chart. What do you think? No. So in the world of VBA, 0 is false. Any other number is true. But if you just look at the numeric representation of true, it's always -1. Most respectable programming languages use 1 and 0 for true and false. There must be a good reason why VBA chose -1. It eludes me. I don't know why they think that was better. That's always what it returns. Okay, so the chart is the first one. But now, if you've got a chart, let me do this. I'm going to also print the type name of sh. This should tell us that's a shape object. So type name of some object or variable will tell you what kind of object it is. sh.chart. There's actually a chart property. If the has chart property is true, then there's a chart in the chart. There's actually a chart that's in the chart property. And so that'll tell us, oh yeah, it's got a chart object and it's actually a chart. So I should now right here be able to say set ch, my chart object, equal to sh.chart. So now I've got both of these different objects that I can use to refer to the two things I need to manipulate for this chart, the shape that contains it and the chart itself. Now the truth is, sh.chart is so short, I might not actually make another variable for it. I might just refer to it as sh.chart whenever I need it. But here I'm just trying to point out two different objects. There's a relationship between the two. One contains the other, but we've got two different objects that we have to manipulate. All right, so now let's look at this code that it generated and think about what we need to do here. So I've got active chart. So instead of active chart, how do I, remember before it created a chart and then it said .select, making it the active chart. It's actually, technically, I think it was the chart in the active shape, but it's still getting you to the chart. So here, what do I want to change this with? What should I change active chart to now? Do I have an active chart now when I create? I never activated, I never selected that shape with the chart in it, so I don't have an active chart. There is no active chart. So what should this be? What do you think? Yeah, that's the question. Is it CH or is it SH? And just the fact that this has active chart makes me think it's probably CH. We're probably talking about the chart itself. And that looks right. Set source data. Sounds like something I would do to a chart, not so much to a shape. Now, the interesting thing here is that it's setting the active chart, the data of the active chart. Whew, that's ugly. But if we create a chart with the cells activated the way that we did, it's going to actually set that automatically during the creation process. So here, it's showed us how to set it if we want to by code. We don't need it. So this line, we don't even need it all. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this, and I'll run that again. And maybe I'll delete my other things here too. Delete. Let's stop this. I'm quite sure I went to debug. I went right past the stop. I must not have actually had stopped it maybe. There we go. So now we're creating it. It's got the data that we want. And so that's great. So we don't need that other statement. If we wanted to kind of create it from scratch without selecting the data first, we might be able to go down that road. But I have found that when you create the chart without the right data selected, it doesn't give you the same kind of chart. And I'm not sure why. So the way I do charts, select the data that you want, build the chart, and then everything works well. Looks like I moved the chart a bunch of times, or increment left top a couple of times. So I am going to get rid of those. Active chart.parent.delete. What do you think that is? What do you think the parent of the active chart is? It's the shape. So if I call the delete method of the parent of that chart, what's it going to do? Let's go ahead and activate the chart so that that code could execute. What do you think that will do? I think it's going to delete the shape in the chart. So apparently I record myself deleting the chart. I don't want that. I'm trying to create it. So got to get rid of that. I don't need to select anything else. Oh, looks like that was the first one. And then here's the one that I actually created at the end. Okay. So I'm not sure if we've simplified that code. There's certainly a lot less characters involved here. But now we're saying select the right data based on the active cell, and then build the chart. I'm going to turn off, get rid of the stop, and run this. Maybe I'll just come over here and press Control-C or Control-Shift-C. So interesting. I was expecting that to work flawlessly. Oh, I've got A1 selected. That's what it is. Thank you. There we go. So let's come back here. Let's select a cell down here. Control-Shift-C. Very good. That's right, because I got to make sure I'm on the right cell to indicate the row that I want. I guess we could come in here after we set the row. We could say if row is less than 3, that's the first valid one, then row equals 6. I'm just setting this one as the default chart. So now if I'm up here and press Control-Shift-C, it'll build that particular chart. That's better. Okay. So next thing I'd like to do is I would like to actually put the title onto this chart. I'd like this data to come in and be the title of the chart. So let's just go ahead and manipulate the title of the chart. ch dot find the property. Find where the title is. Anyone find it? It took me hours to find the chart title the first time I went looking for it. Because what am I looking for? I'm looking for the word title or caption or something. I was really surprised to find it was called chart title. You know, whereupon I went, great, it's called chart title. Let me go ahead and run it up to here and let's deal with chart title. Stop, run that. ch.title equals, let's put some text in here, new title. No good. Why not? Because the chart title is not the end property. It's an object that's got properties. Chart title dot, we got a different problem. ch.chart title equals test, no good, because chart title is an object itself, dot, it's got something here. What is it? Text. And finally, I hit the dot there, there's nothing else. So that's the one I'm after. So ch.charttitle.text equals new title. And that's putting a new title here onto my chart. Good, so that's what I have to assign to be able to manipulate the title of the chart. And I want that to be equal to cells, row number, row, column number 1. And I want the value of that cell. Now, depending on the version of Excel that you're running, I think if you go back to Excel 2013, when it built a chart, it doesn't, not only does it not have the title showing, but it doesn't even have a title property. It's just not there. ch.hasTitle is true, but if you set hasTitle to false, it will like get rid of that title. It's just gone. And now if I try to set the text, what do you think is going to happen if I try to set the text of a chart title that doesn't exist? That's an error too. No good. That might have been why it took me hours, is because I didn't realize that the chart title wasn't even there until you say chart title is true. That'll bring the chart title back. So it now has a chart title, even though there's nothing in it, but now I should be able to execute this line. Debug, not title, is true, T-R-U-E. Oh, there it is. It says chart title. Now this line should execute. So that's kind of another little thing, is that depending on your version of Excel, you might not have a title on the chart that you create. So it probably would not hurt us just to come in here and say ch.chartTitle equals true. Chart title, yeah, has chart, thank you. Has title. Has title equals true. All right. And in a similar way, we can manipulate other properties. You want to change the color of the bars, it's going to be finding the right property and manipulating it of the chart. You want to change the scale, you want to put the little numbers here on the end. What are they called? Value labels. You can put those on. It's all manipulating the chart itself. So let's just go ahead and position this. I'd like this chart to be a particular size. Actually, it kind of came up as a pretty good size right now. So let me just find out how big it is. sh.width, 360 wide, and the height is 216. So maybe I'll make them 200 by 300. So let me just go ahead and make that adjustment. So sh.width equals 300. sh.height equals 200. So now they'll all come in at that size, regardless of whatever size they get built by default. Now for the tough part. I want to position this. Where am I going to put it? Any thoughts? Yeah, probably don't want it covering my data. So probably want this to be somewhere up like right about here. But I can't just put it in column G because there's going to be a different number of counties selected. But I want it to go right at the end of the data. Well, fortunately, I've got a column here, right? I know my column. I know this. I've got a reference to this column. It's got that number. So the neat thing is that I can ask for the position of a cell. So let's set the sh.left equal to, let's just start off by saying cells. It won't matter which row we're talking about, or which row we're talking about, because I just need the column that I'm interested in. Row 1, column number, call. And we can ask for the width of that column. So let's kind of put this back where it was created. And I'll drag up and execute that. Oh, not the width. That's how wide the column is. So the column is about that wide. It should be about that far from the left. Yeah, it's way over here. I don't want the width. What do I want? I want the left of the column. That should put it closer to where I'm interested in. Oh, I don't want the left of the column. What do I want? The right of the column. There's no right property. You can't just ask for the right of a column. Oh, I could ask for the left of the next column over. Or I could ask for the left of that column plus the width of that column. Those two would give me the same number. So I like the column plus 1 here better. Left of the column plus 1. And then I probably don't want it right against the edge. I probably want it a little bit over. So let me do this. I'm going to come and to the very top of my code, and I'm going to make a constant. This is actually the first example that we've had that really makes sense to use for a constant. So constant, I'll call it margin, equals, I don't know, maybe 5. Just a little bit. I'll just put it a little bit past the data. So now anytime I want to refer to how much margin I'm putting around in between my charts, I can just refer to margin here. And if I'd like to change it, I just come change the constant, and then the rest of it will change. It would be much better than saying left plus 5, because I'll have plus 5 in several places. And if I decide, oh, you know what, I want to change it to 10, I have to go find everywhere and change it. Now I can just put margin. And if I want to change it later, I can change margin equals something different, and everywhere that's margin will work. All right, so that should put it just a little bit past the data. That's where I want. And the top, maybe I'll actually just put the top at the margin. Just put a little bit of margin space at the very top. sh.top equals the margin. So I've got my first one in place. That'll work okay for the first time I create a chart. The second time I create a chart, it's going to put it right in that same place. That's no good. So I've got to put some logic around this to decide where to place the second one. Maybe instead of actually writing them directly to there, I'm going to create a couple of variables. Maybe I'll just create them right here. Let's just come here and say, I'll just create a variable called left as a single precision floating point number, and one called top as a single precision floating point number. So then when I create the chart, I'll have some logic here to figure out what top and left should be. And then, so we'll ultimately build some logic around this. This is the case for when it's the very first chart. And then we'll just set these to those variables that we declared. So now I got to have some way to figure out how many charts there are on my sheet. Because depending on the number of charts, I'm going to behave differently. Well, if I know that I don't have anything besides charts, I can just look at the shapes. But do I have any shapes on this as well besides the chart? Yeah, I got that combo box. That's a shape. Well, fortunately, there's like another collection that I can refer to, not shapes, but it's all the shapes that have charts. It's a built-in collection. And actually, it might have other properties of the charts themselves. It is called chart objects. Active sheet dot chart objects dot count. And that will tell me the number of chart objects that I have. So let me just do this. Before I do the assigning, we'll do a select case on the count of my chart objects. I will put an end select. Whoops, end select goes before we set the positions. And then I'll say case. Now this will be just after we've created it, so we'll say case 1. Since I'm creating the chart here, we actually might want to find out where that is earlier, but let's start down this road. When I start to create this, there's no charts. But by the time I'm getting to this code, there has to be at least one chart created because I've had the add chart has already happened. So if there's just one chart, then I'm going to do this. Then I guess we got to do something else. We'll do a case else. I'm not sure what else we're going to have to put, but let's put a case else in here. Case else. All right, so this is now, if it's not the first chart, what do I want to do? What do I want to set left and top to be? Yep.
It would be like the sum of top minus bottom of each chart plus a margin.
Okay, so you're saying you want, okay, yeah, no, it's pretty good. You're saying the top needs to be the top of the most recently added chart. So chart objects dot count, no, chart objects sub, it's active sheet dot chart objects, and then I want to know how many there are. That should be the most recently added one. And I want the top of that plus a line break plus the height plus the margin. And let's go ahead and set the left equal to the same. You know what's going to make my code a lot easier to read? Let's do this. Let me declare another chart object. Dim last chart as a shape. Now, before I create the chart, I just want to get that one. Set last chart equal to whatever my last chart is. Actually, that's no good because if I don't have any, there's nothing to set it to. So let's do this once we find out it's not the first one. So inside our else, still not thrilled with this positioning either, but that should work okay. So now here I can refer to the last chart. Last chart dot top plus last chart dot height. Now, unfortunately, here I'm going to the very last one, and that's going to be the one I just created. So let's do the count minus 1. And now we can just set the left equal to the last chart's left. And then once we come out of that the second time through, we should set our shape to that position. Let's see if it works. I got a type mismatch. Last chart, chart objects. Oh, I'll probably have to make it a chart object. So instead of defining that as a shape, let's make it as a chart object. You go ahead and delete that chart and run it. Okay, so yeah, the little misstep here is that since I'm going to bind it on to that instance of the chart object, I could just get back to the regular shape that chart object is, but it'll be easier to just make this a chart object. I should be able to add another one and have it go into place, right? I think we're okay. We'll run this again, and run it again, and the next one comes in. That's going to keep putting them down. So might not be a bad place to stop the example, but if I've got, this is my screen looks like, I probably don't want to go down. I may want to go down for a while and then go over and go down again. Any thoughts? What's that? Oh, mod could tell me, yeah. So I could have some condition that says, hey, based on the position of this, let's do this. Let's just put a little if statement. I was kind of thinking that would go here, but I need to set it, my left, I need to set the left conditionally based on something else. So we'll put a little if statement in here. Go ahead. Oh yeah, the part that says this one right here. Yep. Okay. So we just want to know how many charts we have. Let's see what happens if we say if our chart count mod 4. I'm never quite sure what it's going to give me. 4 charts or 3 charts in a column. But let's say if mod 4 equals 0, then we want to do something. We may have to get a little more sophisticated in this, but this will at least get us started, I think. Otherwise, and we're setting the left of the chart. So if it's mod 4, I think it's time to move over. So instead of last chart dot left, we'll just say last chart dot left plus last chart dot width plus the margin. So we'll move it over when we're mod, and our count is mod 4. I'm not entirely sure that's finished, but let's go ahead and run it and see what we get. Go ahead and delete at least delete one of these. Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-C. So it's moved over, but what else do I have to do? I've got to reset the top as well. So let's go ahead and bring this top down into both of these. And in this case, top is just going to be the margin. Otherwise, we'll set it to the just below the other chart. Let me make sure it works, and I'll give you some time with that code. So it works every time except it leaves a hole in that first one. We got a bunch of them. I'll give you a little minute on that while I think about how to solve the hole on the first column. I'm not coming up with a simple way to do it. So for this example, I think we'll just let it be. Unless you want to do it. How many of you are thinking, oh, we got to take care of that hole in the first column? Anyone saying that? Let's just do one more thing then. And that is, just for convenience, right now we're making the same one each time, but let's do this. Let's just tell it that when we're done to move the active cell down. Active cell dot offset 1 row 0 columns dot select. Yep.
I think I figured out a way to make the whole go away. If you, when you're with that treatment, you active that count minus 1 on 4, and you'll get basically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Ah, very good. That's a simple, still mod 4. Well, mod 5 should just give us one more. Oh boy, it's going to be a pain to delete all those. Let us quickly then write a procedure to delete all of our charts. This won't take long at all. Sub delete charts. Dim x as an integer. Oh no, let's just do this. We'll do it with a for loop. Do while active sheet dot chart objects dot count is greater than 0. And what do we want to do? We want to delete the first one. Chart objects active sheet dot chart objects sub 1 dot delete. Unless I'm very much mistaken, that should just blow away the charts. Oh, the question is, don't we need to look at a different one? And the answer is no, because when I delete the first one, the others shift up by 1. So I'm continually deleting the first one, and as you do, they move up. In fact, if I were to increment it, I'd only get every other one. I'd delete the first one, then delete the second one. Well, the one that used to be the second shifted up to the first. All right. Let's just go ahead and give it a shot. Control-Shift-C, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, looks like it just keeps going down. Oh. So, oh, the mod is happening here. So you're saying give me parentheses around this. Yeah, because mod will take precedence over that. So we'll clear those off and we'll try it again. Control Shift C. Oh, but I'm selecting that, which is making it hard to see. So let me start up here, Control Shift C. And that gives me a very nice set coming in. And now they're all different charts. So that's good. So now that's a pretty good tool, right? You can come here. Maybe we want to put a hotkey or a button to delete the charts. But now I can just come here and say, all right, what chart do I want? I want that chart. Control Shift C. I want this chart. I want that chart. And I want that chart. And just builds them and puts them in quickly enough that these are not charts you got to keep around anymore. You want to refer to them later? Build it again. And so just make the ones you want to look at now. Change the change the delete charts. Am I adding a cell? Delete charts. Change the data that you're looking at. Let's go compare some counties in Utah. QRSTUV. All right, here's Utah County. We can compare ourselves to Wasatch County, Weber County, and why don't we do Salt Lake? Oh, and then we'll do one more. Let's go ahead and get Summit County. Let's check the population change. Which one's population change? Percent change right here. So it looks like they're all growing. Utah County is growing faster by percent than the other ones. What else would be different about Summit County? Oh, let's try the population and see if there's more men or women in any of these counties. Where is it? Oh, let's look at this. Is there a percentage? We want to do all these in percentages because they're pretty different in terms of size. What percent might be interesting here? Estimate. Population under 18. There we go. All pretty much the same that way. There's total females. Well, that's total females. No, is that percent? Oh, it kind of looks bigger than it is here. It's going from 47% to 50%. Oh, we're pretty even over here in Utah County. Looks like we've got fewer women in Summit County. That makes sense, what you know about Summit County? I don't know. What's that? Okay. We could tap dance for a little while longer around charts. Anything else you want to see about it? Let's call it good for there then. Thanks for coming. Class dismissed.